You already know what to do. That's not the problem. The problem is you wait. You hesitate. You overthink. You let the moment slip again. And every time you do, you trade momentum for regret. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. Motivation won't save you. Discipline will. And discipline starts with a single decision. Force yourself to move. Not later, not tomorrow, now. Because the life you want is hiding behind the actions you keep avoiding. And if you can push through once, you'll never be the same again. Every single time you hesitate, you give up something. A spark, a chance, a window that was open just for a moment. Most people don't lose because they're unqualified. They lose because they paused, they second-guessed, they waited for clarity, while the door silently closed. The most dangerous moment in your day is the space between a good idea and the action you take on it. And in that space, your old self rises. It whispers, "You can do it later, maybe tomorrow." Let's think about it a bit more. But you weren't born to think. You were born to move. Ideas are worthless without movement. Dreams rot when they aren't fed by action. Even the best plan will die in the hands of someone who doesn't act. Every great life you admire was built not just on thought, but on force. Force of decision, force of action, force of will when every part of them wanted to stay still. You've had moments like that too. Moments where something in you knew, this is it, go now. But instead you hesitated, and you told yourself it wasn't the right time. You convinced yourself to wait, to plan more, to get ready, and that moment passed. You didn't just lose the opportunity, you trained yourself to flinch. You strengthened hesitation, and hesitation becomes habit, and habit becomes identity, and identity becomes your life. Let me be blunt with you. You are either training yourself to act or to avoid. There is no middle ground. The cost of hesitation is invisible at first. No alarms go off. No pain shows up. Just silence, emptiness, that quiet ache of knowing you could have done something, but didn't. And the worst part? You get used to it. You build a life around delay, around not now, around maybe later. And one day you wake up and realize the gap between you and who you could have been wasn't talent, wasn't luck. It was hesitation. It was those 2 seconds you let fear speak louder than action. So what do? You flip the script. You decide that hesitation is no longer welcome here. You make action your new reflex. Not thinking, not doubting, just action. Even if it's small, even if it's clumsy, even if it scares the hell out of you. Because momentum doesn't start with confidence. It starts with motion. And the only way to win this war is to move before your mind talks you out of it. So stop waiting. Breathe. Move. Now. Readiness is a beautiful excuse. It sounds reasonable, responsible, smart. I'm just not ready yet. I'll start when I feel more confident. When things settle down. But here's the truth. You're not supposed to feel ready. That feeling, it never comes first, it comes after. After the fear, after the leap, after you've done the things scared, tired, messy, unprepared. That's when readiness shows up, not as a feeling, but as proof. People waste years of their lives waiting for permission from a feeling that will never arrive. You don't need to feel ready. You need to decide. Decide to start. Decide to show up. Decide to move, even with doubt in your pocket. You think confident people wait until they feel sure? They don't. They act, even when their stomach is twisted. Even when the voice in their head says, this might fail. Even when they feel like an imposter. But they do it anyway. And that decision, that movement, creates confidence, not the other way around. You can't think your way into readiness. You can't plan your way out of fear. The only way out is through. Do it scared. Do it unprepared. Do it while your voice shakes and your knees are weak. Because the real magic is this. Once you take action, your brain starts catching up. It starts saying, oh, so we're the kind of person who does this now? And slowly, your identity shifts. You become the thing you thought you needed to feel first. People spend their whole lives waiting. For timing, for courage, for life to quiet down. But life doesn't wait. It doesn't pause for your convenience. And while you're waiting to feel ready, Someone else is doing the thing you were made to do. They're not smarter. They're not more prepared. They just decided you have to stop chasing readiness like it's some golden key to your future. It's not. It's a trick your brain plays to keep you small, safe, and still. And you weren't made for stillness. You were made for motion. You were made to start ugly, to learn on the run, to grow in the fire. So today, right now, let this be the death of "I'm not ready." Let that phrase die in your mind and replace it with "I'll figure it out as I go." I can do hard things. I don't need to feel it. I just need to do it. The future belongs to the bold, not the prepared, not the perfect, just the bold. And bold begins with a single step you're not ready for. You'll never become unstoppable if you keep explaining your delays. Excuses are just rehearsed permission slips. Permission to stay stuck, permission to avoid effort, permission to protect the same old comfort zone that's quietly killing your potential. And the hard truth is this: discipline doesn't begin with motivation. It begins when you get tired of your own excuses. You know them well by now. I didn't sleep well. I'm too busy. It's not the right time. It's just not clicking today. These don't sound dangerous, but they are, because each one carves a groove in your mind. And if you follow that groove long enough, it becomes a pattern, a belief, a lifestyle. Excuses don't just delay action, they define you, and you have to decide, is this who I want to be? Do I want to be the person who lets feelings dictate action, who lets obstacles rewrite priorities, who gives up the steering wheel of life to whatever voice is loudest today? Because discipline, real discipline, isn't about forcing yourself through pain every day. It's about making a decision once and honoring it consistently, especially when it's inconvenient. You don't negotiate with excuses because you already know where they lead, nowhere. So you draw a line. You say, this is who I am now, and my actions reflect that, whether I feel like it or not. Discipline is built in the moments where every part of you wants to back out, and you move anyway. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to stop surrendering so easily. People wait for the perfect mindset, the right morning routine, the ideal schedule. But discipline doesn't need all that. Discipline just needs a choice, a clear, quiet, no matter what choice. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Excuses want you to believe that you need more time, more clarity, more strength, but you don't. You need more truth. You need to look your excuse in the face and say, that's not who I am anymore. That's when everything changes. Not when your life gets easier, but when your standards get stronger. Because that's what discipline really is. Standards in motion. You don't rise by accident. You rise on purpose. And that purpose is revealed when the excuses end and your actions begin. So next time you hear that voice, the one that says, take the day off, start tomorrow, just this once, answer it with the one sentence that kills every excuse. I said I would. Then move, again and again, until excuses don't stand a chance anymore. You think too much. You analyze. You question. You loop thoughts around in circles until the moment to act has passed again. You've mistaken thinking for progress. But the truth? Your mind can only take you so far. At some point, it becomes your biggest obstacle. Because the mind loves to protect, to plan, to keep you safe. And when it senses discomfort ahead, it stalls. It tells you to think just a little longer, to wait, to strategize, to visualize. But your goals don't need another journal entry. They need movement. They need footsteps. They need you in motion. You don't need a better mindset. You need a better habit. Act first. Adjust after. Your body knows something your mind forgets. It only takes one step to change your state, to break the loop, to snap out of hesitation. Because momentum isn't born in thought. It's born in motion. If you want change, you can't think your way into it. You must walk into it. Move your feet. Take the walk. Show up at the gym. Open the laptop. Press record. Make the call. Start writing. Don't wait to feel clear. Clarity is what you earn after the move, not before. If you're trapped in your head, you're not stuck. You're just still. And the cure for stillness is a single step. Here's what most people miss. You don't need to fix your thoughts before you act. You need to act to fix your thoughts. Action realigns your focus. It simplifies everything. It reminds your mind what your soul already knows. You were made to move, to create, to build, to shape life with your own hands. You won't think your way into greatness. You'll move your way into it. You'll trip. You'll stumble. You'll embarrass yourself sometimes. Good. That means you're alive. That means you're growing. The greatest moments in your life won't be the ones you overthought. They'll be the ones where you said, I'm doing this, ready or not. So stop sitting in your mind waiting for the perfect strategy. Your future is on the other side of motion, not motivation, not perfection. Motion. Train your feet to move when your mind hesitates. That's the real secret, because in the war between action and thought, action always wins. You've been sold a lie, that success starts with motivation, that you need to feel ready, inspired, hyped before you act. But that's backwards. Motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. People wait for the mood to strike. They scroll, they search, they chase the perfect quote, the right video, the surge of energy that says, now I'm ready. But you know what really creates momentum? Movement. Start moving, and your mind follows, not the other way around. It's like lighting a fire. You don't wait for heat. You strike the match. You make the spark. You build the flame. That's how motivation works. It's not a gift. It's a response, a reward for those who begin. You think the champions feel driven every day? They don't. They're human, but they've learned the secret. Motion generates emotion. You want confidence? Move. You want focus? Move. You want motivation? Move. Start before you're ready, before you feel like it, before the vibe is perfect, because every time you move without motivation, you remind your brain who's in charge. Most people are emotional hostages. Their whole life depends on how they feel. If they're tired, they don't act. If they're stressed, they shut down. If they're uninspired, they wait. But not you. You're done outsourcing progress to your emotional state. You've seen where that road leads. The wasted days, the missed chances, the guilt of doing nothing while time slips away. You're not chasing motivation anymore. You're building something stronger, discipline through movement. And here's what no one tells you. The moment you act, even a tiny step, your brain shifts, your heart starts to follow, your energy picks up, and suddenly, what felt impossible 5 minutes ago feels natural. That's not magic, that's biology. That's how you were built. Movement rewires your state. It interrupts thought loops. It crushes fear. It kills excuses. So stop sitting around waiting to feel different. Move so you become different. Want to change your mood? Move. Want to break your rut? Move. Want to rewire your life? Move. Even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if no one sees it but you. Because momentum doesn't care about scale. It only cares that you start. That first push, that quiet, disciplined, go anyway, is everything. And once you prove you can move without needing a feeling first, you'll never be stuck again. Fear is loudest when you're still. It grows in silence. It multiplies in delay. It thrives in your imagination, but dies in motion. You can't outthink fear. You can't outplan it. You can't sit long enough to make it go away. There's only one way to kill fear. You move. Action is fear's natural enemy, not bravery, not preparation, not confidence. Movement, because fear lives in your mind, but action pulls you into your body, into the moment, into reality, where fear has no ground to stand on. When you move, fear has to catch up, and it rarely does. You've been told to face your fears, but facing is not enough. You must walk through them. You must act in spite of them. You must do the thing you fear while your heart pounds and your mind screams and your body begs to back out. That's how you take its power. That's how you shrink the monster. Every time you take action with fear still present, you send your brain a new signal. This isn't danger, this is growth. And eventually, it believes you. But if you wait for fear to leave first, you'll wait forever. That's what most people do. They wait for courage. They wait to feel stronger. They wait for the fear to fade. But fear doesn't fade. It follows. It stalks. It waits for stillness, because stillness is where it breathes. But movement cuts the air out of fear's lungs. It confuses it, weakens it, reveals how hollow it really is. Some of the most successful people you know, they weren't fearless. They just stopped waiting for the fear to go away. They made a habit of moving anyway, speaking anyway, launching anyway, walking into rooms where they didn't feel ready, and proving that motion is power, because fear doesn't need to go away for you to succeed. It just needs to be ignored long enough for action to take over. That's the shift. Stop fighting fear. Start ignoring it. You'll feel it, but you don't obey it. You don't feed it. You don't stop because it shows up. You just keep moving. One step, one call, one push, one uncomfortable conversation, one act of courage that says, I see you, fear, and I'm not waiting for you anymore. The moment you start acting in the presence of fear is the moment you start shrinking it. And one day you'll look back and realize the thing that once owned you can't even keep up anymore because you moved. And fear can't follow where discipline leads. You don't just delay when you procrastinate, you abandon yourself. Every time you say later to something that matters, you're telling yourself, you don't deserve this now. Your future can wait. You're not a priority today. That's not time management. That's self-betrayal. You think you're buying peace by pushing things off, but really you're making a trade, and the cost is your identity. You trade progress for comfort, movement for numbness, growth for guilt, and guilt is the tax you pay for saying no to the version of you who wants more. The worst part? You get good at it. You get used to carrying unfinished dreams. You decorate your delays with productivity. You organize the to-do list. You research better systems. You clean your desk. You do everything except the one thing that would actually move you forward. That's what procrastination really is, a sophisticated form of avoidance disguised as planning. But let's be honest, you already know what to do. You just don't want to feel what comes with doing it. Fear, uncertainty, effort, exposure, vulnerability. But those feelings are the gatekeepers of growth. You don't get to skip them. You have to move through them. Procrastination is comfortable, but comfort is a liar. It tells you there's time, that you'll be ready later, that things will feel easier tomorrow. But you've lived enough tomorrows to know they don't change unless you do. So here's a truth that might hurt. Every time you procrastinate, you teach yourself not to trust your own word. You said you'd do it, but you didn't. And even if no one else noticed, you did. That's how self-doubt is born, from the quiet erosion of your own promises. So how do you fix it? You stop needing to feel ready. You stop arguing with the task. You stop chasing perfect timing. And you start doing one small thing right now. That's how you rebuild trust. Not with big dramatic shifts, but with small, quiet follow-through. With showing up when it's inconvenient. With choosing progress over perfection. Procrastination dies when movement begins. You don't need a new plan. You don't need more time. You don't need the stars to align. You just need to stop betraying yourself. Because every time you act, you send a message to your mind. I show up, I finish, I follow through. And eventually your identity catches up. You stop being the person who delays. You become the person who does. And from that place, from that internal trust, everything changes. Stop trying to look good. Start trying to begin. That's where people get stuck. In the fantasy of the perfect first step. They want their launch to be polished, their first words to be profound, their first move to impress someone. But greatness doesn't start polished. It starts ugly, messy, awkward, uncertain. And that's exactly why most people never start. They're too proud to be bad at something new. They're too addicted to looking competent to embrace the discomfort of a beginner. But here's the truth. Every master was once a mess. Every expert was once embarrassed. Every powerful journey began with one imperfect, unready, unfiltered move. The difference? They didn't wait until it looked good. They moved anyway. Your ego wants you to wait for greatness. Your future wants you to start small. Because that messy beginning holds the seed of everything you dream about. You just have to be willing to look foolish while it grows. You want to know the shortcut? It's not hidden knowledge. It's not a life hack. It's not a 10-step plan. The real shortcut is starting when you feel unqualified and continuing until you're not. There is no clean entry point to transformation. There is no perfect draft of the dream. There's just this moment, and whether you choose to begin. People will criticize your early work. You might too. But what they don't see is that your ugly first draft is better than their perfect delay. While they're still thinking, you're building. While they're still planning, you're learning. While they're still perfecting, you're growing. Because the fastest way to get better is to get started. Most people don't lack talent. They lack tolerance. For being a beginner, for making mistakes, for not being immediately excellent. But your tolerance for imperfection is what determines your capacity for success. Start with shaky hands. Start with no followers. Start with a cracked voice. Start with a basic tool. Start with doubt in your head and courage in your step. Just start. And you'll realize you didn't need a flawless plan. You needed faith in the messy process, because it's in the mess that skill is forged. That confidence is built, that greatness is born. You win by starting ugly again and again until ugly becomes unstoppable. So drop the pressure, drop the pride, pick up the work, not the perfect work, just the first work. Then move and don't stop. You're not broken, you're not weak, and you're not lazy, you're just not trained. What you've been calling laziness is actually a lack of structure, a lack of direction. A mind that's been left to wander instead of being taught to lead. Laziness is a label. Discipline is a decision. And that's good news, because it means you're not stuck. You're just untrained. Most people think discipline is a personality trait, something you're either born with or without. But it's not. Discipline is a skill. It's learned. It's built. It's earned through choices no one sees. You think you need more motivation, but you don't. You need rules, non-negotiables. You need to stop giving yourself the option to back out every time it gets uncomfortable. That's what most people miss. Discipline doesn't feel good at first. It feels like friction. It feels like resistance. It feels like you're going against the grain of who you are, but you're not going against yourself. You're going against the version of you that's kept you stuck. And that version is loud. It wants comfort. It wants convenience. It wants dopamine, not discipline. But your future? It wants something more. And only one voice gets to win. Only one becomes your identity. You're not lazy. You're undisciplined. And the fix isn't more guilt, it's more structure. Set the alarm. Set the standard. Keep the promise. Do the hard thing, not because it feels good, but because it builds the person you're trying to become. You don't need to feel like it. You don't need to enjoy it. You just need to become the kind of person who does it anyway. Because once discipline kicks in, everything changes. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop debating your standards. You stop looking for shortcuts. You just show up. You execute. You repeat. And every time you do, you cast a vote for the strongest version of yourself. That's the real difference between you and the version of you you admire. Structure. They've trained their impulses. You've let yours lead. But you can flip that script today. You don't need a new identity. You need new habits. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just need to decide, I don't miss. I don't wait. I don't stall. And then act like that person until your mind catches up. You're not lazy. You've just been letting the wrong voice win. But that ends now. Today, you train. You decide. You discipline. And from that decision, a new identity is born. You've been tricked, trained to believe that how you feel should decide what you do. Tired? Don't train. Uninspired? Don't write. Overwhelmed? Don't start. And so you wait for the right emotional state, as if success depends on your mood. But it doesn't. It never has. That's the loop that keeps people stuck. Emotion, action. Feel good, act. Feel bad, freeze. But real growth flips that script. It says, action, emotion. You move first, then the feeling catches up. Not always immediately, but always eventually. You must become the kind of person who acts without permission from emotion, because feelings lie. They twist the truth. They whisper that comfort is more important than your calling. And if you obey that voice too long, you start to shrink. Not physically, but mentally, spiritually, energetically. You become a prisoner of the mood of the moment. But you weren't made to live like that. You weren't made to wait for courage. You were made to choose courage and act before it feels safe. Here's the reality. You can train your brain to move regardless of mood, to operate from principle, not emotion, from standard, not circumstance. That's what high performers do. They feel the same doubt, the same resistance, the same chaos, but they move anyway. They've learned the secret. Discipline isn't about feeling good. It's about doing what matters whether you feel like it or not. You don't need to fix your emotions. You need to stop obeying them. That doesn't mean you ignore pain or pretend you're fine. It means you recognize emotion, but you don't let it become your GPS, because your emotions don't always want what's best for you. They want what's easy, what's familiar, what's safe. But greatness lives on the other side of discomfort, uncertainty, and inconvenience. So how do you break the loop? You act, deliberately, repeatedly, especially on the days when your feelings beg you not to. Because those are the days that shape your identity. That's when your brain says, oh, we're not ruled by moods anymore. And once it knows that, you become unstoppable. You no longer wait to feel right. You act your way into feeling right. You don't ride the emotional roller coaster. You lay track in the direction you choose, and you walk it, one hard, powerful, aligned step at a time. That's the loop you build now. Action, identity, power. And once that loop takes over, you'll never be stuck again. You don't become disciplined by accident. You don't stumble into confidence. And you don't build momentum just because you should. You become consistent when action stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Let me explain. Most people see action as a task, a box to check, something separate from who they are. But that's why they struggle to stay consistent, because they don't see action as identity. They still say things like, I'm trying to be more consistent. I'm hoping to stick with it this time. I want to become the kind of person who... But that's the problem. You're still putting action outside of yourself instead of claiming it as part of you. You don't try to be disciplined. You decide that's who you are now, and you act like it until the evidence stacks up and it becomes the truth. That's how identity works. Not through wishes, but through reps. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity. Every time you show up anyway, you cast another vote for the person you said you'd become. And those votes add up. You think the people who win are more talented? No. They just decided earlier to become a person who moves, no matter what. It's not that they never fail, it's that they never detach from the identity. They miss a day, they bounce back, they hit resistance, they adapt, because they don't say, I hope I can stay on track. They say, this is who I am now. You must do the same. You must train your identity to match the life you want to live. And here's the key. Don't wait for results. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for proof. Be the proof. Act like the person you're becoming now. Even when it feels fake. Even when your old identity whispers, this isn't you. Even when the outside world hasn't caught up yet. Act anyway. Because your identity is being shaped in those moments of tension, where the easy thing and the right thing pull you in opposite directions. Pick the right thing. And over time, you'll wake up and realize it's no longer a stretch. It's no longer a fight. It's just who you are. You show up, you execute, you move, because that's what you do now. That's how action becomes identity. Not overnight, not through hype, but through choice. Made again and again until there's no more gap between who you say you are and what you actually do. That's real power, and it's yours to claim. Your brain is brilliant, but it's not always your friend. It wants comfort, familiarity, predictability. And when you start stepping outside that comfort zone, it panics. It sends you signals. This is too risky. You're not ready. You're not good enough yet. But here's the secret they never taught you. Your brain lies. Not because it's broken, but because it's built for survival, not success. It doesn't care about your goals, it cares about keeping you safe. And to your brain, safe, same. Same habits, same patterns, same environment, even if it's slowly destroying you. That's why every time you try to grow, you feel resistance. Your brain treats change like danger and sounds the alarm. Doubt, fear, overthinking, that's not intuition, that's just biology. And if you don't know this, you'll believe it. You'll think the fear means stop, the anxiety means delay, the uncertainty means you're not good enough. But it doesn't. It means you're moving. It means you're growing. It means your brain is trying to protect the version of you that no longer fits. So what do? You learn to say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm not staying here. You learn to act through the doubt, to speak through the fear, to move before the certainty arrives. Because if you only act when your brain agrees, you'll stay small forever. You think high performers don't feel fear? They do. They just know it's noise, not truth. They've learned to lead their brain instead of being led by it. And you must too. When your brain says, this won't work, you answer, we'll see. When it says you're not ready, you say, I'll figure it out. When it says, what if you fail? You whisper, then I'll learn faster. This is mental mastery, not eliminating fear, but ignoring the parts of it that aren't useful. Because not all thoughts deserve a seat at your table. Not all stories are worth believing. And not every warning is worth obeying. Your brain is powerful, but you are more. And when you stop waiting for it to agree before you move, you take back the power that was always yours to begin with. So let the fear speak, but don't let it steer. Let the doubt rise, but don't let it win. Act anyway, every time, until your brain learns a new story. This is what we do now. We move, we lead, we grow. And then one day, your mind stops resisting and starts following your lead. You say you care about your future. You say you want more. You say you're tired of staying the same. But if your actions don't match that, your future can't hear you. Because talk doesn't build anything. Dreams don't grow from declarations. They grow from decisions, from what you do when no one's watching, from what you do when it's boring, repetitive, uncomfortable. Action is the most honest thing you can offer your future. It says, I haven't given up on you. I'm showing up for you today. I believe you exist, even if no one else does yet. Every step you take now, every move you make before the payoff comes, is a love letter to the version of you waiting on the other side. You want a better life? Write it with your feet. Write it with your hands. Write it with your sweat and your focus. Stop waiting to be discovered. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself and start building something your future self will thank you for. Because right now you're sending messages to your future, whether you realize it or not. When you procrastinate, you're saying, I'll deal with you later. When you scroll for hours, you're saying, your time doesn't matter. When you skip the hard thing again, you're saying, you're not worth the discomfort. And that adds up. But the opposite is also true. When you wake up early, you're saying, I believe in you. When you go to the gym, you're saying, I want you to be strong. When you choose discipline over distraction, you're saying, I care about the life you're about to live. And one day that future version of you will stand in the place you only dreamed of, say, and look back with gratitude that you didn't quit, that you didn't delay, that you didn't ignore the quiet voice that said, move. Most people never get there, not because they didn't have the vision, but because they never honored it with their effort. Let that not be you. Let your future feel your love in what you do today, in the reps you don't skip, in the work you do without applause, in the boundaries you enforce, in the time you protect, in the small wins you stack. Because your legacy is being written in every action you take now. And one day when the results show, they'll call it talent, they'll call it luck, but you'll know. It was 1,000 love letters signed with sweat and sealed with motion. Every action you take today echoes forward. So ask yourself, what kind of future are you building? If this message moved you, tell me in the comments, what's the one step you're taking now, not later? And if you're ready to live with discipline, purpose, and motion, subscribe. This is your next step. Let's build the life that won't apologize for existing.